In today's video, I'm going to show you how I took a really sad etiolated succulent and gave it a whole new lease on life. In other words, it's going to get one heck of a makeover. And I took its little buddy and potted it into its own little pot to give it more space to grow. And they can still be best friends, but have separate apartments. And so don't go away. I'm going to show you how I did it. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Patty, and this is my handmade lifestyle. And welcome. One of my favorite handmade activities is to work in the garden. And I love plants, and one of my plant hobbies is to work with succulents. And today I wanted to talk with you about a common issue that we see in succulents, and this sample shows it better than any sample I've ever seen before. And honestly, I should have cut it and repotted a while back, but I wanted to make sure I could shoot the video, and so I've just let it grow. It's doing fine. You might be a little shocked at what we're going to do to this plant today, but fear not, it's going to be fine, I promise. Before we jump into today's video, please make sure that you have subscribed to the channel, that you like the video, and that you hit the notification bell for the updates, because if you don't hit the bell, you're not going to know when things go up. And currently, I'm updating twice a week. I would like to get it 3 times a week. So make sure you hit the bell to get all of the notifications. It's going to be plants, crafts, and cooking, and come on, who doesn't love all of those things? Okay, let's get into today's video and talk about what's going on here. This actually is like the best example I've ever seen, which is a little bit sad, but this is a learning experience, so we're not gonna get judgy here. But this is what an etiolated succulent looks like. And why does it look like this? Well, we had a really difficult winter here. It wasn't necessarily that it was freezing cold, but it was dark. I mean, it was just cloudy all the time. I can only guess that it must be what it's like to live in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm not sure I could handle that, because it was dreary constantly, and my plants suffered. This spring, I had to cut back so many succulents and restart them because of this. It was dreary, and succulents are high light plants. And even though I had this in the window that got the most light, and it was literally in the window, it just wasn't enough. And what will happen is, if a succulent is not getting enough light, it will start to grow at the stalk really fast, but the leaves are super spaced out. And see how that is? And I'll do some close-ups so that you can really see. But you'll have these really wide gaps in between your leaves. And when you look at this plant, we'll start at the base and work up, and you'll see where the leaves were close together, though it's still not ideal. It really wasn't getting the light it needed when it came into my possession. And then as the winter went on, it was terrible, and you can just see where this poor thing was stretching for light. And now it's been outside, and it's getting high light like it likes, and you can see now that the leaves are very close together. I mean, there's like right on top of one another, and that is how this plant is supposed to grow. So let's take a nice close-up look at this so that you can really get a feel for what etiolation means and what it looks like. So starting at the base of the plant, you can see where the plant was last winter, and then as the winter drags on, look at how those leaves are spaced out and how this plant is just reaching for light. I mean, it's really kind of sad. But then we come up here and then look at the difference. Look at how compact the leaves are, how everything is going straight up. That's what a healthy sample of this plant should look like. So we're going to go ahead and take our cutting down in here and repot it and start it over, and it's going to do fine, I promise you. Hold on to your hats, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut it way back, and we're going to cut it way down to the stump, and then we're going to remove all of these leaves, and then I'm going to come all the way up to the top and take off these leaves, and I'm going to use something called rooting powder. This is how I do a lot of my succulent propagations. I do all my propagations this way. If I take a cutting and it has a stalk, I'll stick it in rooting powder and then put that right into the soil. And the rooting powder will help the plant to grow roots and establish. And what'll happen is everywhere that you remove a leaf, it leaves a little mark, and out of that mark, the plant will send roots. It'll either send roots, or you can grow new plants from a leaf propagation. I don't really need any more of these, so I'm not going to try to propagate. So we'll wind up cutting this plant maybe about in here, and then I'll take up all these lower leaves. I'll make sure we dip it in rooting hormone, and we'll put it into its new home. And we're going to take the golem and make sure that it's nice and comfortable, because it's really getting crowded out, and I love this golem, and it's full of new growth, so we want to keep that going. Okay, let me get some really good close-up pictures of what's going on here, and we'll be back and we'll start our succulent surgery. I've got an extra pot here, and let's go ahead and get it set up, and so it has drainage. The biggest thing with your succulents, and really with all plants, it's drainage. Drainage, drainage, drainage. And your best watering method across the board as a generalization, unless you have a water plant, like an aquatic plant, soak and dry. Wet your plant way down, let it dry out, and water it again. That's all. That's all it needs to be. I see so much information and people agonizing over watering. Don't agonize. Just soak it down and let it dry out. And if you have a properly draining pot, your plants are going to be fine. That's the key, is you want to put the water in and have it run right out the bottom. If you can set your pots up to do that, that's called winning. That will keep everybody happy, healthy, and growing. Okay, and don't pack your soil. It's just like in baking, you want it to be fluffy. So I'm just making a little bit of a well. Open our rooting hormone. And this is going to freak people out, but don't freak. It's going to be fine, I promise you. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this plant, just like that. And then we'll remove leaves. And all of these leaves could be propagated. I don't really want any more of this plant, so I'm not going to propagate them. And I'm just removing them. I'm just pinching at the stalk. You just pinch and take the leaf off. And I'm just going to keep doing that until we get up to where we have the healthiest part of the plant growing. Ooh, it smells good. Okay, we're getting there. So I'm going to say about right here. It starts to look really healthy. I want you to see it's sticky. So it's, see how there's all those little nubblies where I broke the leaves off? That's all going to create roots. So let's trim it down, and we don't need a stalk that long. Okay. You could just stick it in the soil. I've seen some people just stick it in the soil, but I always do rooting hormone. So I just stick the plant in. It's like a white powder. That's it. It just looks like a white powder. And that nice rooting hormone is on there, I'm going to just lower the plant into the soil. Just enough to hold it up. This is it. I always top dress my plants. I think they look nicer with a little top dress. But you don't have to. That's not required. I just think it looks nicer. So there we go with that. Let me rinse off the rocks that I was using before, and we'll finish out this little repotting of the etiolated succulent. These are rocks from the previous project, and so I just rinsed them off. If you put them in a colander and then you just rinse them with the hose, you can get all the excess soil and muck off of them, and then they're fresh again. So I'm just going to scoop the soil for the top dress. Just think it's prettier. It's just a personal preference. And there we go. It's a really huge size difference, because now it's just the top. Like, this is the rosette for that plant, but isn't that cool? To me, it just looks like a little grass or something. I think it's really neat. So now when I see it like this, it makes me think, well, maybe I will propagate a few of those and then put them in with this one later on as they get larger. So, you know, maybe we will go ahead and try it. All you have to do is take the leaf and lay it on the soil. So I've talked myself into it. So stay tuned to see how those are. So that one's done. That's it. And we're not going to water it right away. We're going to let it go a few days and let it get established and let the rooting hormone start to do its work, and give it a chance to establish and start putting the roots out, and it'll be fine. So now we're left with this. What do we want to do? I was going to cut this back down to the stump and just let it keep growing, but honestly it's so big and I feel like it's crowding my golem, so I think what I'm going to do is get it out of here. And just gently pour things out. I love this golem. I got these at the same time. I actually last winter was working a part-time job where I was doing succulent arrangements at the mall, and I made this arrangement and I just fell in love with it. And it was not potted in like the best possible situation, so I repotted it when I got it home, and it's done really well. Oh wow, look at this. So, ooh, you don't usually see this with succulents. Wow. This is full of roots. Look at the root structure. That is amazing. That you don't normally see with succulents. So that tells you they're very happy. But we're going to split them up. Wow, this golem really puts the roots out. Holy cow. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put it right back into this pot, and you can see I don't put anything in the bottom. There's no pebbles, there's no nothing. It's truly not necessary. The first time I saw this, it freaked me out, and I thought, oh my gosh, the soil is going to run out everywhere, and it honestly, it does not. So you don't have to flip over that. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, and I mean, this is really beautiful soil structure. So I'm just going to take this and put it right back in here. And then we'll add just enough soil on top to help it hold it in place. Do not overpack your soil. If you overpack, the roots have a hard time taking up oxygen. So your plants breathe using their roots. So all I'm doing is tamping it down enough just to give it structure, and that's all we're doing. And that's good. And then I'm just going to bring it down below the rim of that pot. This thing is crazy. Look at that. I'm not keeping it though. I do want the rocks that were in there. There's not going to be quite enough rocks in here. So let me go. I'm going to get rid of this plant. I know that upsets people, but I'm getting rid of it. And what I'm going to do is clean off these rocks by putting them in the colander and rinsing, and then we'll finish top dressing this, and we'll have 2 new arrangements. So don't go anywhere. And the top dressing, I mean, really, that's just a personal preference. I just think it looks nicer. I like rocks with succulents because I think it kind of mimics their natural environment. And it plays with the texture and the color. And again, you can see the serving spoon is so helpful. Okay, there we go. All right. I'm going to take just a few minutes, and I'm going to wipe down and clean off the outside of this. I mean, really cleaning off your pot once you've got the plant into it. I think that is the last step that is neglected a lot of times, but gosh, it just really does clean up the look of your finished arrangement. It's so pretty when it's all cleaned. Okay, there we have it. Our 2 new succulent arrangements from 1. And you know, I have to say, I'm really liking this. The more I look at it, the more I like it. Now I know what it's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to grow. It's kind of like grass. It's really neat. So I am actually going to propagate a couple of those leaves and see if I can get a couple more of this plant growing in here. And of course my golem I'm super excited about, and I can't wait for it to get big. These are very slow growing, I will tell you. This thing grows fast, this is slow. So, okay, that's what I have for today's video. I hope you found it interesting. I hope it will help you to recognize etiolation in your succulents if you have that crop up. I think if you're going to work with these plants at some point, you're going to see that. And it's okay, you can deal with it. Now you know how to recognize it and what to do. And okay, I'm going to clean up my mess here and enjoy my beautiful new plants, and I'll see you in the next video.